Hey guys, MBSC1 again. So I've been working on this fun deck. It's Flygon, Dusknoir, Delphox, Ninetales, which might sound a little bit ridiculous, and it is, but it's actually very strong, but it's not good against Toad. So if there's any Toad in a metagame and you want to run this deck, just make sure there is no Toad, because if there is, it'll just destroy you. But if there is no Toad, then this is actually a very strong deck, as ridiculous as it might seem. The deck runs no energy, and it's pretty crazy. I kind of made it up myself, so this is the list. Alright, so to start off, we'll go with the Pokemon. This is probably the most interesting part of the deck. Pretty crazy Pokemon line. Your main attacker, well, I guess it's not an attacker because it doesn't actually attack, but Flygon is your main, I guess, damage output source, your only real damage output source. Its ability Sandslammer says that anytime between turns, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, put 1 damage counter on each of your opponent's Pokemon. So that 1 damage on each of their Pokemon can add up actually and become a lot of damage and make it so that you can take prizes without attacking, which is kind of crazy. But basically, Flygon is how the deck puts damage and takes knockouts and stuff like that. So we need a really thick line, so that's why we have 4. Then there's 2 Vibrava. Actually, if you have the option, do 2 of this Vibrava, the one from Furious Fist, because this one's weak to fairies. Or no, other way around, sorry. The Boundaries Crossed one's better because this one's weak to dragon, and this one's weak to fairies. So go with the dragon one if you can, but it's a very minuscule detail. Yeah, just 2 of those, just because it makes setup a little more consistent, and it helps a little bit against Toad, even though you probably lose to that. Then 4 Trapinch, again, go with the Furious Fist one instead of Boundaries Crossed one. Actually, that's flip-flop with this one, but anyway. Yeah, you gotta have 4 just so that you can set it up quickly. Obviously, you're gonna run 4 Trapinch if you're gonna run 4 Flygon. For the Dusknoir line, you run 2, 2, 1, 3, or 3, 2, 1. No, 3, 1, 2. Kind of a crazy line. You run 3 Duskull so that you can get it out early game, 1 Dusclops just in case you have to evolve without rare candy, and 2 Dusknoir just because 1 will get prized too much of the time, and you really need Dusknoir so you can manipulate damage. So what'll happen is with Flygon, you'll have all that damage on board, but nothing will really get enough damage on it to get knocked out, so you use Dusknoir to manipulate damage and take knockouts on the things you want to knock out. So that's the main strategy of the deck. And then there's a lot of support Pokemon that go with these Pokemon. So we have Delphox 2-1-2 line. This is so that you can use the ability Mystical Fire. You don't really use Blaze Ball at all because you won't run energy, but basically this will just help you keep setting up. It'll make it so you can just keep getting Flygon into play, keep getting Dusknoir into play, and things like that, because your opponent will keep taking knockouts, so you need to just keep, you need something to keep you in the game, basically. So setting up Delphox early game is important. There's a 2-1 Ninetales line, and this is because the deck runs 2 Training Center, and this is basically what makes the deck possible right now. Flygon has 140 HP, so with Ninetales and a Training Center in play, it has 170 HP, which makes it actually very hard to take down in one hit, especially for a non-EX. So that combination together makes this deck really tanky. Things are not easy to knock out. And then the last Pokemon is Jirachi. This is just for early game consistency, so you can get a supporter. That's basically the whole reason. I don't like Jirachi in this deck just because of bench room, but sometimes you have to use it, so that's how it is. That's all the Pokemon. Incredibly thick Pokemon line, probably more than some Flareon decks, which is kind of crazy to think about. 4N, just necessary for setting up. Very strong supporter, good, even better in this deck actually, because the thing is you can manipulate how many prizes you want to take and when with Dusknoir. So if you want to take all 6 of your prizes on the last turn and just get end to 6 every time aside from that, you can. Sometimes you have to knock out threats, but N is very strong for that reason. 3 Sycamore. Most decks run 4, but this one has to run 3 just because there's so many evolution lines and it hurts to discard them sometimes. But you do have Trump to get back the evolutions, but 3 seems to be a solid number for me. 3 Verse Seeker. This is just to get back any of the supporters you use. You know, just gotta have that versatility. And then 1 Trump card and 1 Karina. This might seem like a really thin supporter line. I know it really is only 10 draw support and then 1 Korean and 1 Trump. But the thing is, you do have Jirachi to search out any of those, and then you do have Delphox. So Delphox will provide a lot of draw. It's like a second supporter every turn almost, so you don't really need more than this. In the 1 Karina, it might seem like a weird play, but it's actually kind of a cool trick with this deck. Karina is essentially just Skyla, plus you get to search for a fighting Pokemon. So with Karina, you can get out your Trapinches and then search for a rare candy or an Ultra Ball or whatever other item you like. So Karina is kind of a quirky little nice one-of in this deck. I actually had 2 before and it was helpful, but I had to cut down to 1. Oh, and then the Trump card is just so you can get everything back. Pretty straightforward. This deck actually burns through pretty quickly, so Trump card is important. 1 computer search. Best ace spec in the format. I was going to try out dowsing, but I found that computer search was more needed. So yeah, I just put it in. You just really need that early game consistency for setup. 1 town map. This is because the deck has a lot of evolutions, like 2-1-3 lines and things like that, or 3-1-2 lines and weird evolution lines. So you really need town map to search and see what you want off the prizes and make sure that none of your stage 2s are prized or anything like that. So town map is important for things like that. Plus you can decide when you want to take prizes with Dusknoir, so it's kind of cool. Like in certain situations you can use Dusknoir to move the damage somewhere, take a prize, and then use the card you got off the prize that same turn, if that makes sense. So town map just has a lot of good synergy with the deck. 2 hard charm. This might seem kind of weird, but if you think about it, a hard charm on a Flygon with 170 HP because a training center is essentially a 190 HP Pokemon, and it's a non-EX. So that's incredibly hard to take down. Hard charm is very good in this deck. It just helps in general against everything. It makes Flygon super hard to one-shot. 1 escape rope. This is mostly because people will Lysander Dusknoir, or they'll pretty much Lysander anything that isn't Flygon active so that they can stop the Sand Slammer. So you need escape rope and 1 switch to get it out of the active. Escape rope will just be more helpful sometimes because you can make them bring up things they don't want to bring up. So that's nice. Then there are 3 max potion, and that is because Flygon has 190 HP if you have Training Center, Ninetales, and Hard Charm in play, so it's really hard to take down in 1 hit, so you can just max potion after they hit it the first time. Very strong with this deck. 2 target whistle. What this does is that you put a basic Pokemon from your opponent's discard onto their bench. So if you think about that with Flygon, that essentially is like a muscle band, because using a target whistle will make it so there's 1 more card on your opponent's side of the field that is taking damage from Sand Slammer, so it's essentially you're doing 10 more damage into their turn and 10 more back into yours. So it just helps the damage rack up. This deck can have a low damage output sometimes, so this really helps with that. Also, you can bring things back like Execute and then knock it out, so it'll just help it so you can make or take more prizes. Very strong in this deck. I'd actually like a 3rd, but I can't really find room for it. 3 rare candy. I'd like 4 just because there's so many evolutions in this deck, but it's just really hard to fit anything else in this deck because there's just so much stuff in it. And then that's half the items. There's a lot of items in this deck because there are no energy, so you have a lot of room for items and supporters and Pokemon. Then there's 1 repeat ball, 2 Evo Soda, sorry about that, 4 Ultra, and 2 Training Center. So this ball/search line is very thick just because you have so many Pokemon. There's like 26 Pokemon here, I want to say. So it's important to get what you need when you need it. I remember back when Level Ball and Heavy Ball were around, I ran 4 Ultra, 2 Level, and 2 Heavy, so it's not surprising that now I run 7 Pokemon search cards anyway. So yeah, this needs to be really fixed so you can get whatever you want out. Repeat Ball is really nice because you can get out another Trapinch or another Duskull early game. Sometimes you pull off quirky plays where you get 2 rare candies in the same hand and you play a Flygon and then you Repeat Ball for another Flygon and get one of those into play. It's just nice to have more search in the deck. I'd run like 7 Ultra Balls probably if I could, but you gotta make do with what you can because you can't run more. And then 2 trainings. Oh yeah, I should explain these. These are actually extremely helpful. Since I run the stage 1 of pretty much every evolution line here, I got 2 Vibrava, my gosh, I can't talk, 1 Dusclops, 1 Braxton, and that's, oh, and then I guess Ninetales too. So you can use Evo Soda with any of these, and it's just very helpful for your setup. So Evo Soda is actually really strong. And then the Training Center is obviously just so that you have higher HP Pokemon, which I've already explained. So, yeah. I guess that is pretty much it. Crazy deck. So that's it for the list. It's pretty ridiculous not having any energy in a deck, but I've been testing against a lot of decks, and pretty much if the deck doesn't have Toad in it, you beat it. That's kind of just how it goes, and it's a little bit ridiculous, and you might not believe me, but you should go try it for yourself. And if you lose a lot at first, it's probably because this deck is really hard to use. When Flygon was like a good deck back around like Nationals in 2014, you know, a lot of the good players considered it to be like one of the hardest decks to use. So if you're up for a challenge and you want to have fun like me, then you should give this deck a shot. So yeah, thanks for watching. Like the video if you liked the video, comment if you want to tell me something, and subscribe for more.